everybody. Welcome back to Crafts by KMW. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you will enjoy it. So I recently got a request to show how I color faces or skin, body parts in coloring books using chalk pastels. So this is a request and I am happy to fill because I love using chalks for coloring skin. It makes it go so much faster than colored pencils because the chalk pastels blend so much easier. So as you can see, I have my page selected. So this is from Hannah Carlson's Spirit Animals, which is one of my very favorite coloring books. And this is the page. So this is the bird spirit animal page. So on the opposite side, we have the birds that are her spirit animals. So I am using today my Carb Othello by Stabilo chalk pastel pencils. So I have the 48 set. They come in a really nice tin, but I took them out of the tin because I have a crazy cat, which you might see in just a minute because he is on the table right next to me. And removing the top tray and having things kind of loosey-goosey was not working for me. Yep, there you see his tail. So I put them in this pencil case and now they are nice and snug and safe and I don't have to worry about him knocking them over. If you want to buy chalk pastel pencils, I would recommend this brand, Stabilo Carb Othello. I think they are a very high quality pencil. They sharpen really well. They are pretty pigmented as far as chalk goes. And they don't have, I don't think, a whole lot of dust. I think they're really good on the dust. So if you are afraid of having a lot of dust or are afraid of getting, things messy or whatever, then I think this is a good choice. But of course, you can use whatever chalk pastels you have. If you have the sticks or even pan pastels or some of the old scrapbooking chalks that come in these square, really hard bricks. I had those, but I had to throw them away because they were all broken. But you can use whatever chalk that you want. And then, of course, I have my very technical applicators, which are eyeshadow applicators that I buy in a big, huge pack of like 250 on Amazon for like $5. And again, you can use whatever you want. You could use Q-tips, you could use even cotton balls. Cotton balls would be a little harder to control where you are getting the chalk, but they would work in a pinch. You could use ink applicators, whatever you would like to use to spread your chalk. So I will say before I get started, you will see a little bit of shadow. Today is a very gloomy, dreary day, and so I had to have my light on. So I do apologize for the shadows that you will see. Hopefully it won't get in the way of what I'm doing. So the first thing that I do whenever I'm coloring skin, it doesn't matter if I'm using chalk pastels or colored pencils or even markers, I choose my shades. And I always start with my base skin tone. In other words, what do I want the base skin tone to be? What do I want her skin tone to be? And I am going to use this pinky tone right here. I actually have two of them. My local art store sells the Carb Othellos singly, so I bought some doubles of a few of the shades that I use a lot. So once you have your base color picked out, then you can choose a few darker shades for your low lights and the shadows and areas of contour. So for example, underneath the chin, around the sides of the face, in the nose area here. So this is a relatively small face. It doesn't take up too much of the picture. So I'm probably gonna use 3 to 4 shades. If you have a really large face, I know I have some Anastasia Ali Caldereva books, and in some of her books, the faces take up pretty much the whole page. So I might choose, 5 to 7 colors for that. So it just depends on how large the area is that you're coloring for how many colors you need. I always have at least one extra in case I feel that I need it. So I am going to pull out some beiges. So this is like a warm light brown. And then I'm going to pull out a darker brown. And I can't give you colors, these don't have colors. If you do happen to have these pencils, I'm using 625, 615, and 681 so far. And then I think I'm going to choose a little bit of a lighter. This is sort of a honey color, and this one is 680. Now, as you can see, I am sort of mixing. So I have like a pinky tone here, and then more like brown, bronzy tones there. I am not an artist. I do not follow color rules or anything like that. I do what is aesthetically pleasing to me. So if you can choose whatever shades you want, I just do what I like and based on the colors that I have. The Carb Othello pastel pencils don't really have a lot of pink tones that you could use. The other pinks in here, as you can see, are, like this hot pink. I wouldn't want to use that on skin. So that's why I have to go with more of the brown tones. So it depends on what colors you have as well. I think that they all work really well together. For me, it doesn't matter if the tones or the shades are not exactly the same. So I'm going to give these pencils a quick sharpen. And one thing I will say, if you are worried about buying pastel pencils because you think that you will use them up really quickly and whittle them down really fast, I have found that that isn't true. I was worried about that too, but then as I was looking, I read reviews, and many of the reviews said how even when you sharpen them, it's not like you wear down these pencils a lot. They last really well. I have used this set quite a lot, and you can see that I still have really good percentage left of the pencils. So I'm going to start with my lightest shade, and I'm just going to color the entire skin. Now, when I'm doing this, I do not worry about being perfect. I don't worry about getting in every nook and cranny, as you can probably see, because I'm going to spread it out with the applicator. Now, you could use these pencils and not spread them out with an applicator. I think you could just leave them dry. It is a little powdery, and you would definitely want to spray that with a fixative right away, because if you were continuing to color, you know, you could spread the chalk all over the place, get your hands in it, smear it, smudge it, get it dirty. So you would definitely want to spray that, because would be a lot more chalk on the paper, and as opposed to sinking into the paper. So you would want to be careful of that. But I am going to smudge this and spread it out, so I'm not being very exact. One thing I will also make you aware of when you're using pastels, the intensity of color will be a lot lighter. You're not going to get the same pigmentation and depth and richness of color that you get from colored pencils. It's going to be a lot lighter. So if that's okay with you, then chalk pastels are a good medium to use. If you really like that deep, rich intensity, you might want to try oil pastels, or you might just want to stick with colored pencil, because this will not be super dark. So now that I have it all colored in, I take my applicator and I just spread it out, getting into all the nooks and crannies, making sure there's color everywhere. And I really work on making sure that I push all the dust into the paper. I try not to have a lot of excess dust left over that I have to blow away or brush away. I just blow it away. Some people like to use a brush, and that's fine. I just blow it away. But see, I'm getting dust, so I'm really just trying to work that back into the paper to saturate the paper with the chalk. I really like this process in using chalk pastels. I don't know, I find it cathartic. I find it relaxing, and I love seeing the immediate results of total saturation. You don't see those holes or, you know, little remnants of the paper seeping through. The chalk gives you really good coverage. So I'm just going back over what I did first. So as you can see, I've pushed in most of the dust that I pulled up from using the applicator, and most of it has gone right into the paper. It takes a little bit of extra time, but it's worth it, I think. So now I have her skin colored. So now I am going to start adding my shadows, highlights, lowlights, and definition. So I usually go to the darkest color next. I like to get the dark tones out of the way, and I do this with colored pencil as well, and marker as well. That way, if I need more, I can add it, or if I have put too much on, I can hopefully get rid of it before I've added too much else. So I find that it allows for you to make mistakes if you if you do the dark next. So I'm gonna go along the outside edge of her face. And again, I am not being exact. I'm not pressing too hard. One thing with chalk pastels, you don't have to press very hard at all. You can get good color saturation by just very gently rubbing the pencil on the paper. And I don't care. I am coloring over the little circles that make up her little moles or freckles, and I'm going to color those in with colored pencil, so I'm not worried about that. So now I'm going to do a little bit under her eyebrows. Again, I am not an artist. I did not study how to color faces and you know, all of that formal stuff. I do what looks good to me and what works for me. So I'm gonna do a little bit in the creases of her eye, and then I'm gonna add a little bit below her eyes. Now I'm gonna do the nose area. So in many coloring book drawings of faces, you don't get a whole lot of the nose. So you have to add it to make it look like it actually is a 3D object coming off of the face. So I start from here and I go down with a curve. And again, I go pretty light in case I don't like it. All right. And that's all I'm going to do for now because I'm going to be adding more in. And then I'm going to do a little bit around the edges of her nose to the bottom. And then under her nose as well, because there would be darkness there because it's a 3D object. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a little bit under her lips. And now I'm going to do under the chin. So I try to think about where you would see the shadow. Again, I am not an artist. I did not study shadows or light sources or anything like that. I just do what looks pleasing to me. So I come underneath and then I bring it down a little bit down the neck. Again, there are lots of different ways to do this. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. And then I'm going to add a little bit of darkness around the edge of her collar on her dress or shirt, and then inside where the bow is, and then just around the edge of the bow, because there will be shadows there. And I will add gray for the shadows, but that would make her skin a little bit darker as well. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in and blend with my applicator. And you'll notice that the color gets much, much lighter when you blend it out. And just as a side note, I am using the same side of the applicator, if you can see it, that I used for the base color. That helps, I think, to blend them better. Using the chalk pastels can be a little messy, so you will see me get chalk other places. I don't worry about that because I will be coloring the rest with colored pencil or whatever I choose, and that will be covered up. I can also erase it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel like erasing can make just more of a mess, so I just leave it and I just cover it with colored pencil. So now I'm just blending all of the dark, and I just love it. It's like you see this magic happening like right in front of you, like just blended without a lot of work, without a lot of hassle, without a lot of effort. Okay. And then I just keep working it in, getting that dust. Worked right back into the paper. As you can see, I'm dragging it out a little bit so it blends into the pink base color. Okay. So now I'm gonna take my next darkest color, and I'm just gonna use a little bit because this is so small and I did cover quite a bit with the darker color. I really don't need to use too much of the other color, so I don't want to oversaturate and get it to look muddy. So I'm just gonna put a little bit around the edges to lighten that up a little bit and give that a little bit more definition. And then in here where her nose is, I think I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna blend that and see what I like or if I like it. All right, I'm just gonna drag that other places. Okay, yeah, I do like that. Okay. And now I'm going to use the next lightest color, which is my only other color that I have that I'm gonna use. And I'm just gonna add a little bit around the bottom of the shadow under her chin, and then a little bit on her cheeks and under her eyes. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of this color on the tip of her nose. And now again, I'm gonna blend. I'm using another end, a clean end of the applicator to do this, because I don't wanna keep adding that dark color back in. Now I am going to use my lightest color again. Okay, I can't seem to find where I put my pencil sharpener. That has disappeared for the moment. Oh, I found it. Okay. Ugh, I hate when I put things down and then I can't find them again. I always tell myself I'm going to be organized and put things in a certain spot, and I do it for like a day, maybe not even a day. So now I'm going to come back in with the lightest color and add another layer of that. Again, I'm going to use a new sponge end of my applicator so I don't add any more of the darker colors on there. And I'm blending this with the previous colors, blending out, blending over. Now to finish, I'm going to add white where I want extra light parts to be, where I feel like light will be hitting her and glistening off her skin. So I'm going to add white down here. And then I'm going to add white on her nose, a little bit on her cheek, lower cheek area. I'm going to be adding pink on there for some blushy pink cheeks eventually, and so I don't want to do it in that area. Again, I'm taking a new side of my applicator and just blending that in. And now I would do the forehead too, but because she has flowers draping over her forehead, I really don't need to do that. So now I'm going to just come back to the edges a little bit and just darken the very edges a little bit. I'm not adding a lot, just a very little bit. I'm going to come in here so I can darken that shadow line of the nose and then under her chin. I'm going to use the dark end of my applicator to blend that out. You can add as much, dark back in as you want. This is your artwork, so it needs to look aesthetically pleasing to you. And it's one reason I love chalk pastels on skin, because it allows you to get exactly the look you want, I think, a lot easier than colored pencils. So now we have her face, and I'm going to add some gray in for shadows. So I'm going to add a little bit of gray underneath her chin. And I'm using a medium gray. This is 706 if you have these pencils. I'm just adding it around edges where I think there will be more shadow. And again, I'm taking a new side of my applicator. And blending this out. Sometimes I'll keep adding gray. I'm just gonna leave it there for now. But sometimes I would add a little bit more in to make it more obvious. And now I'm going to take some pink. I'm using 335. This is a very hot pink. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to scrape it on my applicator. So I'm just coloring it on the surface of the applicator because I don't want to get too much on. If I put it right on the paper, I'm afraid that it'll be too dark. So I'm just going to color it on the applicator and then put the applicator to my paper. It's very, very subtle, and you may have to do this a couple of times. Another thing you can do, which I also do, is I'll color the pencil on a scrap of paper. Let me pull a scrap of paper right now and I'll show you. So I'll scribble the chalk in a little blob on a piece of paper, and then I'll stick my applicator in there, and that pulls up chalk as well. That'll actually pull up more chalk. You'll see more of the color show up here. Okay. And now I'll take a side of the applicator with the skin tone on it and go over that and blend it out. And I can add a little bit more if I want. I'm gonna add a little bit more where there's more freckles. And now I'm just gonna blend that out again. I think I need to blend more out on this side. And there is my finished face done with chalk pastels. I'm actually going to turn off my overhead dining room light and let you see that in natural light. So that's what it looks like in natural light. So I think this came out really good. I really like it. It's very subtle, but it's so much easier than colored pencils. I would still be working probably on the second layer, like the dark layer right now, if I were doing this with colored pencils. So it makes it so much faster, and I think it looks much smoother. There's only so smooth that you can get colored pencils, I think. And so I think this really looks really good. It looks very smooth like skin. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. It helps me more than you know. If you are not subscribed yet, please press that subscribe button. I would love to have you as a subscriber so you can get more content like this and have access to all of my videos and notifications when I put new videos. I have a few videos already recorded that I will be putting up over the next few weeks. And of course, I continue to make more. So if you have any questions or have used chalk pastels and would like to share, I would love to see what you think of them, how you use them, and what kind you use, because that also gives any other viewers or subscribers some ideas as well. So once again, thank you so much, and I hope you have a very crafty day.